Today on Classroom Dynamics.
They're going to use it. The only thing that banning them from is going to teach them to be more creative in how to use it because it's not going anywhere.
I like the way you put that. That's so true.
Welcome to the place where ideas collide. Adam Todd's here to be your guide. For teachers and techies, chasing the spark. Classroom Dynamics, where we leave our mark. Let's dive in deep, the future's bright. Innovation shines like morning light. Teachers and tech, hand in hand we go. Welcome to the Classroom Dynamics Show.
Classroom Dynamics is sponsored in part by Logitech Education, empowering student voice and creativity with innovative tools like the Logitech Reach Adjustable Content Camera and the Zone Learn headset designed specifically for student comfort and focus. Discover how Logitech is transforming classrooms at logitech.com/education. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we unlock the future of education. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Adam Todd, and welcome to our season finale. We're closing things out this season with a powerful conversation about AI and how you're truly falling behind if you're not using it. And today we'll give you practical ways to start experimenting if you haven't started, and of course go deeper if you already have. My special guest is Latashia Crenshaw, an educator with 25 years experience in special education and who's also the founder of LNC Consulting and Associates. Latashia is leading the charge at the intersection of AI, inclusion, and student-centered learning. From universal design for learning to data privacy, she's helping educators turn uncertainty into confidence, showing exactly how AI can enhance planning, differentiation, and accessibility, all while keeping the human touch at the center. And as you head into this upcoming summer, there's no better time to start to explore and experiment different ways in which AI can elevate your classroom for the year ahead. And it's all coming up next on Classroom Dynamics, your weekly professional reset. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Classroom Dynamics is brought to you in part by Higher Ground Gear and the vaulted cell phone pouch, the smarter, faster way to create phone-free classrooms. Built with military-grade construction, RF shielding, and a high-decibel Velcro closure that stops distractions before they start, Vaulted keeps learning focused and secure. No locks, no end-of-the-day bottlenecks, just durable, easy-to-clean protection that gives students what they need most: attention, connection, and calm. Upgrade your school's approach to distraction-free learning with Vaulted at Higher Ground Gear. For more information, visit hggear.com today or contact us at info@hggear.com. Looking for teaching resources that truly engage and inspire your students? Discover Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers, your go-to source for ready-to-use lesson plans, interactive notebooks and lapbooks, test prep passages, and meaningful small group projects. Designed by educators for educators, these resources save you time while boosting student motivation and learning. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. For more, search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers today. My guest today puts it this way: most AI training starts with tools, but she starts with learners, because if educators don't understand how students process information, encounter barriers, interpret instructions, and need support, AI won't be effective in real learning environments. To discuss all of this, I'd like to welcome Latashia Crenshaw to Classroom Dynamics. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so excited for this one because AI has been everything we've been talking about this last season. And I think going into the summer season, it's really going to help teachers, because I think after everyone decompresses a little bit from the year and kind of starts to think about the fall again, I think it's a perfect time for them to kind of dabble and get messy with it. So before we even start all that cool stuff, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you're bringing to our show today.
Thank you again for having me, and to your audience. I'm just going to start with, my name is Latashia Crenshaw. I am the founder of LNC Consulting. Been an educator for over 25 years, and that company has been going on since 2013. And I have to start by saying I'm a mom of 3 amazing kids and a GAMS of 1 amazing granddaughter who just has me wrapped around her finger. And I will say that's how it all got started. Being the mom of a child who was diagnosed with ADD early on had me identify the types of thinking that not everyone thinks differently, whether that's gifted or struggling. That's just how my whole 25 years span career came from.
That's pretty cool. A lot of teachers we've had, a lot of guests we've had on our show have a really interesting background in why they became an educator. And that's another great reason to be an educator, right? Because then you can really make a difference and you really do become part of the, the solution instead of part of the problem. You say most AI training sessions usually start with tools, but you start with learners. So what does that actually look like in practice when you're training educators who are brand new to AI or even have some experience with it and they've tried a few things already?
That is a great question. And I'm just going to warn you guys up front. A lot of things that I say is going to sound like a broken record because my processes and practices are really, really simple. I stick with the basics. What I've learned in this AI space for myself and others is a lot of the conversation is just about the tools. We're talking about ChatGPT. We're talking about Gemini. We're talking about Copilot. And at the end of the day, they all do the same thing. It is the learners that are different. And so we come into the space of using AI for different reasons, whether that's personal, professional, whatever the reason is, we're the difference. So AI is just a tool, right? So for me, with a brand new educator, that is the first thing that I let them know, that you're the human, you're the expert. The AI is going to do whatever you ask it to do. So if I am educating you and training you, that's the first thing that I want you to know is you're going to always be in control. And if you're going to be in control, because it is just a tool, you need to know how to use that tool and you need to have a goal. No matter what tool you're using, you need to know why you're using it, and AI is no different. So
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I really like how you said that because a lot of teachers feel that they're losing control. They don't have the control, but they really do. They just don't get that they have the control, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and that is the message. We are the human. We are the experts. The way AI works is based on the information that we feed it. It only has predictions. It doesn't have real logical thinking. It doesn't know the students in our classrooms. It doesn't know our day-to-day activity. There's no way. So for a new teacher or anyone else, there is no way we can sit down at a computer and tell it to generate something for us. It does not know who us is. So that is where, when I have my simple practices, one of the things that I teach is something called the cognitive sandwich. And it is just where I tell them it starts with the human, the AI is in the middle, the meat of it, it's going to help us. And then we're going right back to the human. Starts with the human, ends with the human. And AI is going to help us bring it all together in the middle.
I love how you put that. That's a great way to think about it. Start with the human, go to the meat, which is the AI, and finish up with the human. So how can educators now start to shift learning, which AI buttons to click, to actually thinking critically about accessibility and bias and diverse learning needs and all of the differentiation that goes along with it when they're using tools like Gemini or Copilot or Google Notebook LM, things like that?
Sometimes it's just good teaching. And that goes out the window too when we think, oh, we don't know AI. This is something new for me. But you're the expert. That doesn't go out the window. Good teaching is knowing what the students need. Again, going back to having that goal, right? One of the things that I say when we're doing the cognitive sandwich and we start with the human, don't sit down and just put in, give me something. You have to get it something first. I always recommend to go in with a finished product and ask it to help you make it work for the students in your class. Right? So that's how we get over the bias. So if it's okay, can I give an example?
Of course. Absolutely. I think teachers would love to hear examples because it's, again, this is such a new, even though a lot of teachers, we can be honest, have really started using it and trying it, there are a lot of teachers who haven't because they just don't know where to start and they don't have examples. So absolutely throw us an example. I think everyone would appreciate that.
Okay. So I'm just going to do it off the cuff, how I would do, because when I'm presenting, when I'm talking to people, I just give the natural, how I actually do things. So if I had to tell your audience from start to finish, say I'm an educator and I'm a first year or a second educator and I have a worksheet. So let's just go with math. I'm not very good with math, even myself. But if I have a math worksheet that I know that I need to teach to a student, how I would approach that, being the human, is I'm going to have a goal, have a worksheet, right? And I know that I want to make sure that it is a good worksheet, first of all, because I probably didn't create the initial version of it. And so what I'm going to do is either upload that into whatever tool I'm using, whether, that's where I say the tools stay the same, whether it's ChatGPT or whatever system they're using. I'm going to give ChatGPT that document, and then I'm going to literally brain dump, because people get caught up in, I need a perfect prompt. I don't prompt. Really. I'm going to brain dump. So this is the step of my example, still being the human, still being in charge. I'm going to upload that and I'm going to say, hey, chat, here is a 7th grade math worksheet that I need to teach to my students in the next few weeks. I want to make sure that this worksheet is going to not only reach the TEKS goals, because I'm in Texas, reach the TEKS goals, but I have a diverse diverse students in my classroom. Some are on grade level, some are off level. Without putting student information, that's going to be important. I'm not going to say, I got 5 kids that have ADHD and I got this one kid that has autism. I'm only going to describe symptoms to chat, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say, I have some kids who really struggle with long assignments. Taking a look at this worksheet, give me 3 ideas for how I can modify this worksheet to meet the needs of this group of students in my class. Now, here's what gets important for me, because we get into people talk about I need a perfect prompt. I brain dump. I use the voice tool for chat, and I'm going to, before I hit go, I'm going to say, improve this prompt.
That's a good one.
Improve this prompt. So I just brain dumped, but I don't actually know what's the best way to get chat to give me exactly what I need. But if I say improve this prompt, and that's my hack to any teacher out there, I put it right in front. Chat, Claude, Gemini is going to spit out this super massive prompt because it knows what it needs. And then I'm going to say, run this prompt.
Got it.
So the AI, being the meat of it, is talking to itself because it knows its language. It is going to give its own self a prompt. It is going to use that prompt. And then it's going to spit out what I asked it to do. I'm only staying in my lane. And then at the end of the cognitive sandwich is, again, the human. You know what? I like this. This might work for my students because I know little Johnny. AI does not. It's only going to give me suggestions. And if I don't like it, I'm going to go back and say, hey, chat, this is good, but I think this won't work for my class. Can we make revisions? So does that make sense? How a new teacher, an experienced teacher, the concept of if I have a goal, I give it what it needs. I let the meat of it, I let chat do its part, which is talk to itself. And then I'm going to say, yeah, this is good to go. When is good to go?
You took the meat part, which is that basic prompt, what you want in there for what you want the AI to do. And you've added, by saying that, I love that. That's a great way to do it. You've now added like the cheese, the lettuce, the tomato, the onions, all inside of that to make that prompt even better, to get hopefully exactly what you're looking for the first time. And if not, like you said, just to reprompt it, to refigure so that you can get what you want out of it. I loved how you put that.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we're educators, right? We're not prompt engineers.
Yeah.
We're not prompt engineers, but AI, that's where AI is amazing at. Its job is to prompt.
Right. So let's look at that now, right? So first of all, you have, I said this before we came on, you have such a great LinkedIn page. So in the end, we're going to give your LinkedIn out. You have such amazing infographics and really cool information, and put in such a way where it caught my eye. And just getting into the true molecular structure of prompt engineering, which is what we just started to talk about, really. So let's talk about the complexity of prompting for teachers. You say that a genetic prompt leads to a genetic output. And that's basically what you don't want, right? We don't want generic. We want something that is very specific. We want something that's going to help us with our kids, and we're all going to be different. So when educators simply ask AI for a basic lesson plan, it often overlooks factors like the reading levels, the attention that's needed for the differentiation that we need in our classrooms, neurodiversity, all the stuff that we're as educators looking for before. So what do you mean when you say stop asking AI to just create a lesson, quote unquote, just create a lesson, and instead start prompting it for access? Because access, I think, is really important. So what do you mean by access?
When I think of access, I'm talking about accessibility. How can I get my students? I have my goal, right? Going back to my goal. This is the activity. This is what I expect for the student to know. And I have to figure out, this is what I expect for my students to know. Because I know my students, this is what I know that they know. How do I bridge the gap? How do I get them from what they know and what I expect for them to know using this worksheet? And how can I get AI to help me do that, right? So again, I'm going to go back to that brain dump. I'm going to turn on the voice method, the voice system, or I'm going to type it in to people. And I'm going to, again, say, hey, here's what I'm doing, or here's what I need to create. But here's my problem. Again, I have students. I have 2 that can't read. I have one that is reading above grade level, and I have one that uses some sort of device. Give me examples of how I remove this barrier for this student. Now, if I'm doing lower grades or higher grades, or say I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation, how do I get over bias? We know that there's bias with AI. If we ask it to generate images, it is going to generate Caucasian people because that is the most people that use it, and that's the way the output is going to be, unless I tell it to do something different. So when I do get an output, if chat created or someone created, I'm going to say, are the students or the images, are they diverse? Does this align with my population? So I'm going to have chat take a look at that and make sure that we're removing that bias from it. Did I just use all males? I can have chat look at that quickly. So it's all about the productivity. How can it help me quickly break something down? If I have a struggling reader or my instructions too long, chat can quickly change the level of the vocabulary to make something simplified. That's how we
makes a teacher's life a lot
there.
better, right? It makes a teacher's life a whole lot better.
So if I'm a general ed teacher and I don't do these things every day, and I haven't been, actively taught how to modify and accommodate according to a co-teacher or someone else, that is where I can use chat or my AI tool to be my co-teacher and my helper to do something quickly.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we're just getting started. We're going to get into something a little bit more controversial when we come back. We're going to take a short break. And when we do come back, we'll get into why Latashia feels that schools should stop banning AI and why they should start to teach AI literacy. And of course, if this episode is resonating with you, hit the subscribe and follow button so you don't miss another episode. More right after this. Attention educators, meet the Logitech Zone Learn, the classroom headset designed for learners and built for schools. Engineered for comfort and durability, the Zone Learn delivers crystal clear audio, helping students focus and fully engage during lessons, group projects, and online learning. Built to last, its modular design adapts to any classroom setting and ensures a reliable, distraction-free learning experience. With Zone Learn, your students can hear the difference, which helps boost learning. For more information, visit logitech.com/Zone Learn. Bullying affects every school, but together we can change the story. Box Out Bullying brings powerful bullying prevention education to life through engaging interactive theater that gets students thinking, participating, and learning in meaningful ways. Through dynamic school assemblies, classroom workshops, and training for educators and families, Box Out Bullying equips entire school communities with the tools to build empathy, confidence, and respect. Whether in person or online, these high-energy programs inspire students to be upstanders, not bystanders, and help create safer, more inclusive learning environments. Make your school a place where every student feels seen, supported, and valued. Box Out Bullying. Empower, include, respect. For more, visit boxoutbullying.com today. Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics, where today my guest is Latashia Crenshaw, founder of LNC Consulting and Associates. We already started with AI, a little bit of prompting, a little bit of background information. You've been pretty clear that schools shouldn't be banning AI, but instead teaching AI literacy. Why do you believe banning it misses the mark? And what does it look like when schools actually start preparing students, whatever age you want to start with, whatever age you think is appropriate, and also including educators in that, to use AI not only responsibly, but also effectively?
I do stand on that. AI is not going anywhere. It's here. So for school to ban it, we can't use it. What does that do for the students? How does that help our students be productive citizens? How does that help them compete in the world AI? It's here. It's not going anywhere. And I heard a presenter say when I was in a training and someone talked just about that with adults, and he was asked a similar question, and his response was, get on now, because we're not coming back for you. It's here and it's moving at the speed of AI. We have to keep up, and we're moving forward. So we're not circling back for the ones who are super late adopters. Now, imagine being a student who doesn't have a choice of being a late adopter. In AI and the AI world still thinks we're not coming back for you. Aren't we creating another gap a lot of times for the students who already have gaps? Teachers as well. In the classroom, we have to teach responsibility for how we use it. And the trainings could be specific ways that you can use it with activities, with your assignments. And those are things I have also on my LinkedIn. And with teachers is having that goal in mind and what you use it for, and being educated on it's not just a tool to give kids to use homework to cheat. There's so many ways AI can be used in the classroom beyond what the student is doing, but I think we're doing a disservice to kids to not allow them exposure to it, because the AI, this world has changed from the time when school was first introduced with the Industrial Revolution. School is constantly changing, and to not expose our kids to this new change, the AI revolution, is just doing a disservice.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think teaching them how to use it properly is better than them figuring it out on their own and not really using it the way they're supposed to be using it, or should be using it for that.
Should be using it. They're going to use it. The only thing that banning them from is going to teach them to be more creative in how to use it, because it's not going anywhere.
I like the way you put that. That's so true. They're going to be more creative in how to figure out how to use it. It's true though. There are so many parents out there that feel no, because, and there's a laundry list of no's and becauses. But the real true understanding is, and the reality is they will figure it out. They will find out a way to use it. And then again, it's not using it maybe wholly the right way. That's the challenge.
So I will say this with that, just to give an example. AI is just predictive text. It doesn't have a true knowledge. It only predicts an output. We have predictive text on our phone. Imagine when predictive text first came out and we were sending messages via text that were just all wrong. And it was like autocorrect, auto text. But over time, if you still continue to use that type of AI, you figured out how to keep from sending crazy words. We figured it out along the way, and it did. But that is just another example how we adapted to AI on our phones.
How young do you think is too young to start to teach AI literacy? Or is there, there isn't a true, let's put it that way, there isn't a true starting point. But where do you think a good spot would be?
I would have to go back to the goal. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing with AI? So there's AI embedded in a lot of programs that we don't even think about. Even as young as the 2 to 3 year olds, if we give a kid an iPad and tell them to log on to some of these games that we're letting them play, AI is already embedded in those programs, right? We just don't read the fine print to say that AI is already embedded in those programs. It's in everything. So I think as soon as you feel that your child is old enough to have technology, they are going to come in contact with AI.
All right. And then when you're in an elementary school or junior high school, middle school, that time frame, if you haven't already understood the proper ways in which you can then start to use it to help you, to assist you, not to do it for you, but to help you, I think if you haven't dabbled in it a little bit, or at least with the education side of it, you are going to be a step or two behind. And what kind of disservice are we doing then to the kids when they start to reach that high school level?
So, and I think we have to go back to the goal. I have to keep saying that. When do we start to teach AI safety? I think is a lot of the questions, or when that question is often asked, they are asking from the education, the point of when is it good? When can we allow them to help with their homework or their assignment? And that's where it stems. But imagine if you know that what AI can actually do. AI can generate images. Imagine allowing a 3-year-old or 4-year-old to create their own coloring page. So many other tools that they can use. Imagine a student that's 3-year-old and 4-year-old that has speech problems, but there's an AI component that would allow them speak clearly. Are you telling me that that kid would be too young to be exposed to that portion of AI?
Right, especially if it's going to assist them.
Especially if it's going to assist them and remove the barriers, which goes back to accessibility. Like, what is our goal? Our goal is to get that kid to the end goal of what we need them to know.
Right. So now let's get to that portion, right, with prompting, because prompting is a big thing. I don't think there are people who understand or somewhat understand what the idea is, but I don't think they really know how they actually go ahead and do that. So with that, prompting can be challenging for teachers, and that could be at any stage of their career, right? It doesn't have to be in the beginning. It could be teachers who have been teaching for 30 years, and now here's AI. Hi, how are you? How do I use this? What is this stuff? I don't want to use it, and they're kind of being asked to. So it can feel especially difficult simply because they're just still either building experience and confidence with instructional design if you're a new teacher. But again, on the other hand, if you have a teacher who is a veteran teacher, they may also be struggling because they're in that established role. They're in that career stage of their life where they're like, I don't want to do something new. I don't want to learn how to do this, but they see that they need to. So how do you clearly explain what prompting is to educators in a way that makes it more practical for them? And also, what strategies can teachers use to write more effective prompts so that they consistently get those specific useful results? I know you already mentioned that brain up. I love that. So how does all that come together so it helps them out and they understand how to use it, especially for their class?
I would start by saying there's no such thing as a perfect prompt. There is no such thing as a perfect prompt. A lot of times when you see those pre-generated prompts, that's generic. That is not geared towards you to begin with. So understanding that a prompt is really just language that you're using to talk to the AI. And that's why I go back to the model that I use in everyday life, how I do. I talk to my AI as if I was talking to an assistant. I use it as my assistant. And that's how I think of it. It is my assistant to help me do something. So I don't start with a prompt. I start with me, the human, my brain dump of my goal, what I want to do. When I get up in the morning before I start my day, I hit the voice and I dictate, I'm going to do this today, this today, this today. And it's not going to cut you off, but you rattle off exactly what you need and it will filter. So there's no such thing as a perfect prompt. I go back to saying, just brain dump what's on your mind, ramble off. I'm giving them permission to just rattle off everything that's in their head because they are the experts. They know. And if you are bogged down with trying to get a perfect prompt, you're going to forget about what you were trying to achieve. So rattle it off, say in front of it, improve this prompt. Even though it's not a prompt, AI will turn it into a prompt. That is prompting in itself. We can all talk. Now, the goal is going to be for your listeners to find out how they can dictate. Now, not all tools like chat, you can just dictate straight into it. So that is going to be their thing. What can I dictate into? Now, before chat started having the voice feature, I know as an educator, I got Loom for free. I get Loom for free. And if I don't, I would get 5 minutes. So I would actually turn on Loom and brain dump on that video, take the transcript from Loom and pop that into Chat GPT. It was still my ramble, but that was my workaround to get.
Your ramble becomes very understood with the AI and then can sort all that out.
And once you start to give it your language, it will start to produce output based on your language. So over time, that's where you start to see people say, this sounds just like me. The AI will start to spit your words back out, but you have to give it the words first.
Right. All the training has to go into that.
And you have to give train your AI. You have to train your tool.
Right.
So if you start with a prompt that is not your words, you're never going to train the tool to understand you.
It's a good point. You know, so many teachers think that they could just say, you know, I need a, lesson plan on the water cycle and it's for my 3rd graders. Boom. that's way too broad. We have to also learn how to actually add in those details. So how do you add in those details to that if you're not, take out the rambling part of it? Like, where do teachers go from there?
Well, without the rambling, you're going to get third grade activity on whatever you said, the water cycle that is so generic. It doesn't know if you're in Texas. It doesn't know if you're in California. It doesn't know the criteria. But if you give it more specifics to it, you can say, hey, if you don't want to ramble, you could type it out. If you have a starting part for the prompt and you are saying, make me a lesson plan for third grade on the water cycle, then you continue on. I teach in this ISD because it's going to go to the web. I teach in such and such ISD, or I'm in the state of, or I'm at this school. And even if you give it that little bit of detail, you will get more structured output than just saying, hey, third grade water cycle.
Right. And then you can also talk about getting into, I want specific standards, or I want specific like reading levels, or I want specific whatever. And again, I think that's where teachers get a little nervous. The more you feed into it, the better you're going to get. I think some teachers think too that you're going to get this lesson plan like 10 pages long, which is a little overdone, right? Sometimes that's a little too much. But I think if you also prompt it in specific ways, because I know I do that, when it comes to like if it's a specific lesson, if it's whatever curriculum alignment or whatever state standards, ISTE standards, you name it, I've thrown it at asked it for higher order thinking questions that I could ask in small groups. You can even go as far as to say you want higher order thinking questions for a high achieving group and for a on grade level and then for a struggle. There's so many ways you could do it, but I think teachers are not in tune to the specifics of the prompt.
So I do teach in professional development. I do have a framework called the REACH framework where you start with the role. So you tell it if they want to do a better prompt, start with the role. So your AI tool knows where it should start thinking. So you say, I'm a third grade teacher who teaches science, or act as a third grade teacher who teaches science. Create me a lesson on the water cycle. Then you say, here are the TEKs. My class time is 45 minutes, but I only have 30 minutes to teach the lesson because 15 minutes of it needs to be small group. Now you don't get 10 pages because how would AI know that you don't have all day to teach this lesson on the water cycle unless you tell it? But start with the role, because otherwise it's going to be generic. But if you tell it to be a teacher, it will start to think like a teacher. So for those that actually need prompts and don't want to ramble, start with giving it the role and then the expectations.
I love that. It's such a great way to do it. So if you're new to AI, this summer is just the most perfect time to start experimenting with it. And it is an experiment for you if you're starting. So what are some ways that teachers can play around and get messy with it, and that they can just import an old lesson plan and create some prompts that will help them enhance that lesson plan? What do you suggest teachers can do this summer in a really basic, logical way that's not a frightening way to them in terms of getting started with it?
I would say just start with one thing. This summer, just start with one thing. If they are a new teacher, if there's one thing that they're concerned about, start with that one thing. Work on that one lesson. Again, learning the tool. How do you upload this lesson plan, right? Like if I have a document, step one is to understand how to do the very basics. You're going to want to know how to upload the document in some form or fashion. You're going to want to know whether you can dictate into it, or if not, how can you do that? And then the third thing is going to be remembering the two parts of the reach that I told you. Give it a role, give it the expectations. And then take whatever lesson. Maybe the kids struggled on a lesson last year that you taught, and you're like, I got to teach this again this year. Let me get some help with AI. And I'm going to say, here's this lesson that I taught last year. 50% of my kids did not pass the lesson. Here's my lesson plan. Here's the worksheet. I would start to ask it questions to remove those barriers. Was there anything off on my lesson plan, or was there something on the worksheet that didn't align? I would just start asking it questions as to what popped into my head. So many kids didn't do well on this one question. Should I remove it? Is there a better way to say it? That is what I would start to do. I would ask it to help me analyze the lessons or something If you think about it again, it's talking to a friend. What would they go to their mentor and ask them?
All right.
What would they go to their mentor and ask them for help with?
Too, if you are struggling with a unit or a lesson and it just didn't come out the way you expected, you could put in what happened. Here's the lesson. This is what happened. How do I fix it so that doesn't happen again? And it might give you some really good ideas. You don't know what the chemistry makeup of the class will be next year, but you might have an idea as how to tweak it in such a way where at least you're going to try to avoid what happened. And you don't want that repeating over and over because it's just not really conducive to anything.
The more data, AI is just like anything else. The more data that it has, the better it can predict. Data's and whatever that data looks like, I would encourage teachers to never think that it's not important. Any amount of data that can help the machine better understand what you need it to help you with, that's how we use AI for our benefit.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to take one last final quick break. And when we come back, we'll wrap things up with Latashia Crenshaw. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just 30 seconds.
Every student deserves a chance to succeed. At Catapult Learning, we close learning gaps through targeted tutoring, direct student support, and proven intervention programs. Our proprietary curriculum and our ability to customize with your district's materials ensure every child gets the instruction they need when they need it. For 45 years, Catapult's evidence-based model has transformed schools in New York City and across the nation. Catapult Learning, inspiring students, unlocking potential. For more information, visit us at catapultlearning.com.
Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics as we wrap up here. If there's one message you want every educator to walk away with about AI, accessibility, and supporting all learners, what would it be? And how do you hope this shifts the way they show up in their classrooms starting either tomorrow if they want or this fall coming up?
If I had to leave educators with one message, AI is not coming to replace us. It is not coming to take our job. It is here to help us. And just remember that we are the experts and AI is the tool. It is human first. Our kids need us in what we know. And just know that no matter what happens, we can use AI for the way that we need to help with some of that cognitive offloading. It can help us with productivity. It can help us think through some things that maybe over time we hadn't thought of. So just know it's here to help, and it is not going to replace us at all, because without our knowledge and our expertise, it can't produce the output that we need. So it's not. It's only here to help us.
AI cannot give the kids a high five, right? Only we can do that. Only the human could do that.
Kids good teaching.
That's the point. I think everyone needs to understand. Good teaching is going to be paramount over the AI. You're going to use the AI to help you to maybe even become a better teacher. But if you have to be a good teacher first, you have to have your practices down pat before, you really could rely on AI for everything else, including getting better in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yes. And I just want to say they will notice that my conversation and my talk is about the way that we use it and not so much as how the kids use it and how they can use it to get in. When you start to reframe from the goal, it is the tool and it can help me. Then once it helps me, then it can help my students. I can help my students. So I focus on us, the leaders, the educators. And so that is what my platform is on. Once we better understand it, then we can take it and teach it to the kids.
Well, listen, as we close out this season of Classroom Dynamics, you've definitely reminded all of our listeners, all the teachers out there, educators that are listening and have listened, that AI isn't about replacing the teachers. We just mentioned that, and that is so true. It's really about expanding what's possible for every learner. The real shift starts with how we think and not just what we prompt. So, Latashia, before we go, fantastic. Thank you for coming on today. Amazing information. Tell everyone where they can go to find out more about you, including your LinkedIn, and where they can get more information on ways to harness the power of AI for their practice in, the days and weeks and years to come.
I would just like for everyone to follow me on LinkedIn. I am L. Crenshaw on LinkedIn. And just be on the look out on my LinkedIn, because I do have a book that is coming out in a couple of weeks on the irreplaceable human. And it is talking about how AI is not coming to replace educators. So I'm super excited about being able to share that. So LinkedIn, L Crenshaw is ELLE. Crenshaw is going to be the best place to catch all those infographics that I share every day, all of the principles so they can keep up.
You have to follow for the infographics. I love the infographics. You use the AI so well for it. It's amazing. And congratulations on becoming an author. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, for those of you who have been listening, thank you for tuning in today. I know that you have lots of podcasting listening choices out there, and I'm glad that you chose us today. As always, remember to share what you've learned or any takeaways or reflections that you've had, and tag us on X at Class Dynamics or Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. You can also find out all of our links, including information about our sponsors, on Linktree at Classroom Dynamics. We always look forward to hearing your thoughts on our episodes and sharing the different ways in which you're using what you've learned. More importantly, share this episode with one colleague who you feel can benefit from today's show. You can also help to support Classroom Dynamics with as little as $3 a month at classroomdynamicspodcast.buzzsprout.com. Once again, I'd like to thank Latashia Crenshaw for joining us today on Classroom Dynamics. Thank you for being with us. The amazing conversation, great inspirational talk, all of it, all for the time. Thank you. Appreciate it. And, good luck again with the book and all that stuff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I hope to be on again.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Classroom Dynamics. I hope today's conversation sparked something meaningful for you, maybe a new idea, a fresh perspective, or just a little boost of motivation to take back to your classroom. Remember, it's never too late to strengthen your craft, and if there's ever a moment to re-energize your work, why not make it today? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. Follow us on X at Class Dynamics and on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep that spark alive and never underestimate the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. What happens when AI in education is done the right way? From South by Southwest EDU to classrooms in Hawaii, educator Gabriel Yanagihara shares how students and teachers are using AI with creativity, purpose, and responsibility. If you missed this episode, we promise it will change the way you think about the future of teaching.
So I have to figure this out. If I've been treading water, if I've been kind of holding off on the sideline just to see what my district tells me to do or anything like that, I'm starting to realize that I have to be the change if I want to see it happen. And for every day that I hold off on that, that's another day that my students aren't going to be as equipped as they should be for the future that's coming.